Hello again and welcome. This week we're going to be doing crochet hooks. I'm really excited about it. This is what got me into wood carving. I'd gone through a rough spot and had started crocheting, and then after doing that for quite a while I decided to make my own tools, which I often like to do, and so I started whittling these out with these X-Acto blades on some of these dowels, and I did quite a few of them, and then it just kind of went from there. I started decorating them, and one thing led to another. So it's been fun to come back to them, and glad to finally be doing a video on it. Whether you've been following the videos and you want to be a wood carver, it's a good project because it's functional. If you don't crochet yourself, it can be a good gift, and it's good practice anyway. And if you're somebody who crochets and you just want to do make some of your own needles or hooks, it's definitely doable. You just maybe watch some of the other videos a little bit. Again, it was the first project that I ever did wood carving, so definitely you can just dive right in. You don't have to do a lot of investment, especially with the tools we're still using right now. I did crochet, so when I was making these, there was a bit of an evolution on making them more functional or functional at all, which they seem simple, but there was a few little tricks in there that I kind of had to learn. So you are going to need some yarn or something. Maybe if you have a wool sweater, you're going to have to run the hook through it to make sure that it doesn't catch or anything, and it's working okay. So anyway, enjoy the tutorial. Okay, so the exact shape of your hook that you make doesn't really matter. All the commercial varieties, well, there's a lot of variety in them, and it really doesn't matter a whole lot. There's maybe some preference there, but really it's the functionality is just going to be is it able to grab the yarn, and is it able to go in and out smoothly, in and out of the other knots. So we're dealing with wood, so maybe you don't want it to be too fragile on the kind of back end of it where it gets thinnest there in the hook, but at the same time we're not really doing anything too heavy with these, so you'll kind of find a balance in there. And sometimes when cats get frustrated, they'll chew on cardboard, and then they just kind of spit it out, and it just happens sometimes. So we're going to start with a dowel. This is our representation of the dowel, and the size depends on you. I would just suggest starting with whatever you have for now. Okay, so we're whittling down the sides here. You don't need to round it out or anything. You're just doing some basic cuts off the front here. You don't want to get it too thin yet, because when you make that hook, you're going to want some meat behind it, some wood, so that it's not too fragile when you make that cave. And then afterwards you can go back in and make it thinner. At the same time, we want to do a lot of this heavy wood removal right now, because we don't want to do it after the cave's there, because then it'll break that wall. So you just kind of have to find a balance. You'll see how I deal with it in the video. Then you start doing the stop cut. Maybe in this illustration that's a little high. This illustration's a little bit ambiguous on what size it really is. So you just kind of deal with the proportions. So then you start coming in on the tip there, and then you start also bringing that stop cut into more of a 90-degree. Okay, and then taking this part out. This is where we've not covered. And this is something you really can't do in wood carving. You'll see in the video kind of like finagle some of it out, but really can't do it the way you want to. You could get it close, you really could kind of fight it out of there, but because this has to be so smooth so it won't grab onto the yarn and the little threads in the yarn, we're just not going to do that. We're going to sand it out and stuff. So I'll show you how to do that in the video. And so basically you'll have that you take that shape out with some sandpaper and a file, and then you'll basically have this. You have a rough kind of idea of this, and then you basically just sand and smooth from then on out. Again, I kind of should have left the top of this a little chunkier for the illustration, but you guys get the idea. So you'll want to take off this little hook there, and you want to round all the corners, because you don't want anything to grab, because it has to go in and out. So basically all the angles on it have to be really aerodynamic. And then you can see here, maybe you'll make the cave a little deeper. And that is my cat's holding paws while asleep. One of them may have had a bad dream. Okay, so here we go. Really, to start this out, you're just going to start making a spear. We're going to do basically what our first lesson was. It's not going to be quite a spear. You're going to want to do a rounded nose. I'll show you an illustration of that in a moment, and you'll see it worked out. But really also, don't worry too much about rounding and shaping. You kind of just do this a little bit, and then you'll go in to make the little notch. So you just kind of get like the basics down, and then you kind of go back and forth. If you make a few of these, you'll get that down. You kind of figure out what's best for you. In a lot of wood carving, the order that you do stuff really changes how things go. Sometimes it makes things possible, or sometimes it makes it just more economical. And one of the reasons is because, maybe putting a detail in, you need to do that before the wood is too thin all around it, that kind of deal. Anyway, so I just use this size, piece of dowel. If you're going to be trying to make a specific size crochet hook, and if you don't know crochet, they have an alphabet system to kind of, label which size they are. And in a lot of the projects, that lettering system lets people know, because they count how many loops there are or knots, and how big this little section is that the yarn gets wrapped around. How big that is, makes however big the pattern is going to come out to be. So if if the pattern is for a hat, they're going to say if you use a G hook, it's going to be 20 knots, around. So if it's for somebody who does patterns, or you do patterns, then you're going to have to measure this stuff out. Maybe, I'm sure if you go online, you can find out what the exact measurements are. And, just when you are doing the little section that the yarn goes on, leave a little bit extra. Always leave a little bit extra. And then you'll be taking a little bit off of sandpaper. You can always just take it down a little bit more, a little bit more. The other thing is with the sandpaper later, because you do have to sand this project because of the hook part of it. And when we're carving, like I'm doing right now, once that gets sanded, like really the widest part is going to be taken down to whatever the shallowest part that is also round. Okay, so anyway, so I'm sticking in here, I'm doing my stop cut. We're on the lesson 2 here. This is why it's a great project right now, because it's really just a mixture of our 2 lessons. So I'm doing a stop cut and digging in there, and at first you just start to kind of go in. And I've started this a little bit farther down than I know than the hook is going to be, because I'll be taking a little bit off of that kind of far end of that V-cut. So, and also the longer angle there on the far side on the right, that goes back a lot, because you don't want it back too much, but it can go back like ½ an inch. It kind of goes in, fades in to the rest of it. Okay, and then so what I do on a lot of the hooks is I make like where the hook is part of it, I make that a little bit thinner on the sides. Alright, so the front and back, kind of the profile where you see the hook, that's the same, but I make the sides a little thinner. And that actually helps. It really is only something that happens on this size of hook, which this is really kind of on the large side of hooks in crochet, but it helps gets that nose through, especially when you got a little tight spot when you're crocheting, and it also makes it easier to make this hole really work out well, because the wider that hook is, the harder it is going to be to get into the middle part of it. And you really can't see here. It's hard for me to show you. And I whittled there. You can see what I've done there. I dig out a little bit, but for the most part, I just kind of get the biggest chunks out, and then almost all of the wood that goes past what a stop cut is, is all just ground out. I'll show you that in a little bit. But you can kind of go from the side, and you can kind of start to curve the blade up to start. You kind of do basically the hook on the outside. And you can see I'm doing it there a little bit. And the other thing is, it's like I do kind of dig the knife a little bit. It's a little bit like against the grain, a little bit of using the knife as leverage, which is all kind of big no-nos. But as long as you don't break the wood, and in this situation, because we know we're sanding it, it's really not a problem. And yeah, I mean, I would if you don't have some rough sandpaper, this is a good project to really use. Oh, okay. There's my super cute cat standing like a human, which is just adorable. Looks like a little bear. Oh, anyway, so yeah, I mean, generally you don't want to use super rough sandpaper because you have to get all the marks out. But in this project, for small stuff like this, you can really use it to sculpt and not just smooth things. So here I'm showing, you can use one of the little file sets if you have one. There's some really cheap jewelry file sets, but I've broken some of them. They just snap. They're really little ones. But I mean, they're cheap, so whatever. This is one of my favorite tricks here, is that you just roll up some sandpaper. Is what I generally end up doing. And then you just stick it in there, and that kind of roll makes a little thick part. Because when you're using sandpaper, when you're trying to get it to contour into things, you either got to fold it up or you got to carve something. I think I'll do that in a little bit. You'll see it here. But now this here is like a cloth sandpaper, so it's thicker, so it's easy to just fold it over once or twice, and it has some real thickness and it stays. But a good trick with sandpaper with carving is when you get your regular sandpaper, you get some duct tape and you put it on the back and you make a little strip, kind of like maybe the size of what I have here, and it really makes the sandpaper last longer, because one of the reasons the sandpaper breaks down is because the paper backing breaks down, and especially when it's getting rubbed on contour surfaces. The other thing is that when it gets folded, if the tape can keep it from completely creasing, because if it does crease, that means that corner that you're trying to make is actually just paper because it's ripped in half instead of being sandpaper. Okay, so right here I'm just doing a quick little very violent, just making a little thing to contour the sandpaper with, because they do sell they sell these little really expensive, ridiculous things that do basically what I'm about to show you here, which is they wrap some sandpaper around a little cornered object, and so that's another way to do it. Again, you just do the duct tape thing. Okay, the other thing with the duct tape though is that besides folding it up and having some more, a little bit thicker, you kind of like you hold it with one hand, and then with the other hand you hold it down, and you kind of pull the sandpaper while your other hand holds it down, and you can sand really quickly that way. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it in this video, and I did a horrible explanation. I'm sorry. So you can see I'm getting in there, because even though the files have round, some round files in there, they're generally not going to be small enough unless you're making a huge crochet hook, which you can. I mean, that's one of the great things about making your own is, you don't have to pay extra money for the extra large sizes. You can go ahead and make one out of a log if you'd like, and crochet something out of sailing rope. But so I end up using a lot, especially in the beginning. I'll use these other shaped files that come in the set that are they're like flat, or they're like half curved or something. They're a bunch of weird things. Some of them don't have like fileness, whatever it's called, on the actual sides of it. So those are the ones you want to use. This set I got really cheap at some garage sale, and I've actually started collecting them now because I always lose them or break them. But keep an eye out for them, especially the old ones. If you can get them in a garage sale, they'll give them away for cheap, and they're a lot better. They're higher quality than these new cheap jewelry ones. Jewelry ones are fine though. If I'm gonna go grab some of those, so definitely you'll get the feel for them. Okay, so here I'm starting. I just kind of have a thing just so I can stick in the needle. Just start stabbing it in there. and rubbing it on there, and because you want to make sure that not just that it passes through smoothly, but that if it's, if there's like little places where there's cracks or something in the wood, or there's fibers that are too big, it'll grab those little hairs and you'll feel it, and you cannot have that in your crochet hook. One of the videos I saw, I'm sure there's more now videos of people making crochet hooks. I'm not sure how exciting this is for you guys. But when I originally started making crochet hooks, there was only one video, and it was like this guy who like made this really crude thing, handed it to his wife. She's like, yeah, it sucks, it's catching on the cloth, and gave it back to him. It's kind of funny, but he was like super excited. He's like, yeah, carving is like this great skill that can help you and everything. It can't. Anyway, it does help your life, but it doesn't help other people's lives, and especially not with the wood chip problem that you guys will soon find out about. So here I am, just kind of that's really the way you get your stuff round. Is I was just kind of holding the sandpaper on there and running it around, and it doesn't just smooth it really quick, but it makes sure that it's round, because you do want it to be round, especially in that kind of base part where the hook, or I'm sorry, where the thread is going to be. I guess it's about the active part of this needle hook. This tool is about 2 inches, and the first inch is kind of the hook, and then the bevel, and then there's about 1 inch of what should be consistent width and roundness, and that's the part that's going to be really making the size and everything of the crochet knot. And I don't think I do it on this one, but on some of them, I'll show you a picture in the end. After those 2 inches, I have the wood get thicker, and that's a nice handle. And I also like it because it has a stopping point for the thread, or yarn, excuse me, when it gets to a certain point, it kind of stops it there. But it's if you're carving it out of wood anyway, it's kind of it's nice to do that. At the same time, on your first ones, I maybe don't do that, because especially if you're starting from a dowel, it's so easy to just have a nice perfect roundness, and just go with that, and then just make the end and the hook, and you're done, and you have that perfect whatever geometric shape this is, cylinder, excuse me. So yeah, again, I just kind of keep going back and checking it, and I really don't actually take this one too rough. It's the first one I've done in almost 5 years, and look, I'm like getting frustrated. It's hard to do this stuff in front of a camera, right? It's not hard to do it. It's hard to enjoy yourself as much, especially when the battery is always running out. But this is after you kind of have gotten that first step of seeing, like, you haven't broken it after you've made the initial hook, and you kind of like the way it's looking. Then you go ahead and spend a lot of time sanding, and the more time you spend on it, the nicer it's going to be. Round it off with the heavy grits first, and then start working your way through on up to the higher grits. This is a project where you want to get up to really, really fine grit, and whatever the highest you can get, 1500 if it's there. And you're not going to really want to put a finish on these, because it'll cause problems. And I don't know, most finishes on wood, they're not for like longevity. You guys have seen old stuff, wood that's patinaed and it's beautiful, and if you put varnish or anything on these things, it totally kills that. You guys have seen old wood that's had varnish. It's got that, like, half the varnish is worn off look, and it just looks crappy. But for the most part, that's what we'll buy anyway, because it looks nicer when it's new. So here we go. We're checking a little bit more here, and I'm kind of checking the hook. I really make the hooks, the actual little, kind of cave that the yarn goes into. I really, kind of describe it and have a circle there, but and it's pretty deep. But it really doesn't need to be, functionally, it only needs to grab the, the yarn, and besides just grabbing it, I mean, it'll when it grabs it to pull it, it makes it a lot smaller. So it's just kind of nicer to have it deeper. Okay, so we're almost done here. And by the way, you know, you can see I just kind of randomly used this piece because I'm running out of dowel. But on the other end there's that kind of decoration. And, you know, after you're done, you know, you can start doing a little bit of decoration in the end. And also how long it is, you know, it's all totally up to you. I'll show you a picture again of some of my other needles. Some of them are, you know, they kind of end in the palm, so you can kind of twist them more, and then some of them go past that. It's kind of whatever your preference is, or whoever you're custom making this for, but it's safe to do it either way. Okay, and this is what it looks like so far. You can see there's still like kind of marks on there. You can see where the sun hits it. It's really not perfect. And you guys should really go past that. Although it's worth noting that at this point it really is functional, because you know, whatever it looks like, it's really the test of, oh look, you could see a little hair on there. I did catch something. Okay, well, yeah, great job. Alright, so this part, which is out of focus apparently, great job. Again. That's okay. It's a stupid part. This is really optional. On a lot of crochet hooks needles, they have a little flat spot in the handle, and this is for your forefinger and thumb to sit, and it's to easier control the angle of the hook while you're crocheting. But it's really unnecessary, even with a small one. Like, your fingers aren't losing grip or something. It's not like, you know, it's a water sausage and it's, you know, I don't know. It's really unnecessary. I think that I did it in some of mine. It's really hard to make look good in the wood stuff. But not only that, but after crocheting a lot myself, I really started to enjoy the thicker handles, and this makes it thinner. And because when you're crocheting for hours upon hours, which is what crocheting is, it's pretty grueling on your tendons. They just rub against each other in the same pattern over and over again. And the tighter you have your hands together, your fingers, I think the more they rub. So if your hand can be opened up more, the better it is. So you know, you do that if you want. It's really your preference, or whoever, you know, custom ordered your crochet needle there. I'm just kind of going through the motions here. You just kind of carve out a little half pipe on each side, and try not to make it too thin. I definitely went way too thin and broke one in half at some point. I did that when I started carving spoons too. You'll start wanting to make it perfect, you know, and so you keep doing one more pass. You just gotta, you know, quit while you're ahead, or not ahead, because the sandpaper is gonna fix it all in the end. And yeah, just have faith in that sandpaper. It's good to have rough sandpaper again, because you can really mold stuff. But yeah, well, that's great footage right there of me having a brain fart. That's why I don't do the video with the audio anymore. Anyway, so that's it right there, and it's time to go to the bar. Okay, so here's some of my old crochet hooks. You can see there's a wide variety of styles and shapes and sizes. You can see those little brown three there. Those are the little thin ones. Those are kind of regular size in general. And then just the back of one there is a mermaid. Because yeah, I mean, I started decorating the other sides. These are really fun here. They're just kind of for the natural branches. You have to be a little careful with those because some types of trees have a pith in them, and it goes hollow, or it's really soft. But it's a fun thing to try. I definitely would suggest it. These are some of my new ones that I made recently, and this one right here, this was my favorite. This wood really worked out nice, so that spalting on it. I did not like these very well, but whatever. Anyway, I really started enjoying the kind of having the thicker handle on with the thinner head on there. But yeah, it was fun coming back to these. And here's a little bit of them in action. Okay, so see my thumb down here on the left? I recently stabbed myself while I was carving, and it turns out that I like really damaged some of the ligaments in my hand. I thought that it was kind of all fun and games when it came to the carving accidents. I mean, I'd had some bad ones that had stitches or whatever, but this is turning out to be a really, really expensive injury. And I mean, the chances are pretty low that it could happen, but I don't know. Be careful, guys. Anyway, you can see the crochet hook in action here. It's a nice smooth one. Spent a lot of time sanding it. Oh, and missed the loop there. It's been a while, alright? It's been a while. But, yeah, I made a little hat. Winter's coming around. So, yeah, I enjoyed doing this project, getting back into the crochet hooks, and revisiting my roots, so to say. And there you can see the hook there. And you see this little stopping point with the thicker handle. I really like that. And also worked with the wood too, of course, there. So anyway, hope you guys had fun. I did. And check back in for more videos soon, and be safe.